Listen very carefully and follow my instructions. Prepare your brain for the Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast.
I gotta tell you, being an entrepreneur, I will not go through the rest of my career without taking nootropics. Piracetam, modafinil, Nupep, uridine monophosphate. I mean, phenylpiracetam, forget it. You can always have a better brain.
The Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast is about to begin.
Episode number 78 of the Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Michael Ballo. Thanks so much for being with me. Check us out on the web at livecortex.com, livecortex.com/blog, giant blog for nootropics information. Look, we really need you guys to like us on Facebook. All of you podcast listeners, I'd like for you to go to facebook.com/cortexstacks and just like our page. It's an avenue that we haven't pursued all that much because the YouTube channel is so significant, and then our website is also has like a lot of traffic. But in the midst of like YouTube whacking nootropics channels, which they did for a 2 to 3 week period until we made a huge fuss about it, we need folks to go over to the Facebook page. So facebook.com/cortexstacks is where you go for that. 6 powerful products support this podcast. They're nootropic products. Here they are. Number 1, the Cortex Nootropic Stack. We've got our own stack. It's called Cortex. It's an exceptionally powerful stack. I mean, look, the whole mission behind creating Cortex was to create a pre-made nootropic stack that actually worked. Like, that people took and were like, wow, like I really feel performance benefits from it. There's a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, who's he's like a bar manager. He manages a bar, this pretty popular restaurant in a downtown, built up, trafficked area. And I told him about the product. He's like, I used to take Adderall, and I'd love to give it a shot. I certainly don't want to be taking Adderall. So I gave him a bottle of Cortex for free to see how he liked it. And the dude was, I watched him take it. 20 minutes later, he goes, dude, I like it. I like how I feel right now. I'm super productive. I can see it in his eyes. I'm looking at his eyes. And I can tell that the guy is in a better state, a more productive state, right? A more zoned in state, a ready to get things done state, a confident, dominant state. I mean, that's what we built Cortex to do. Get a bottle of what's being called the only pre-made stack that works at livecortex.com. Coupon code 5 saves you $5. If you need my help personally on anything related to nootropics, we have a consulting service. It's a 40-minute call with me and 15 additional email correspondences. And if you are new to nootropics and you don't want to do the consulting service to ask me questions for 40 minutes, fine. We wrote a book for you. It's called Smarter, Better, Faster. You can download it on any device that you have and start reading it right away. It teaches you everything about nootropics that you need to know and gives you very many stacks. Get all that stuff and more at livecortex.com. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a sort of a brief summary of the I guess sort of an interesting extrapolation that I've come to understand over the course of many years consulting people on nootropics, as well as sort of dealing with a lot of folks outside of the consulting context in the realm of nootropics, like folks emailing us and saying, this is what I tried. This is the nootropic that worked for me. Here's the context that I used it in. I've been able to extrapolate a bunch of interesting data, right? And that's been the basis for a lot of for us, I have so much content to share with you people about nootropics because of that. I mean, there's talking about racetams, and there's talking about afinils, and there's talking about choline sources, and there's talking about non-neurotransmitter modifying nootropic compounds and how they affect people. The basics of these things. I think that's a lot of what people are looking for when they're heading into the nootropic sphere, having not been able to really solidify good information via the nootropic subreddit or whatever. And there's endless amount of stuff about that we can talk about. But man, the data that I'm able to extract from being from us being a popular nootropics company, a popular company that talks about the world of nootropics and sells a natural nootropic supplement, and sort of in that realm, is invaluable data. And it's data that I'd like to share with people, and it's super valuable data for people to have. And one of the interesting things that I think is important is, okay, so there's different classes of people that take nootropics, right? There's people that are between 20 and 35 that need performance for business, life, or productivity or otherwise. And they take any number of different nootropic compounds, and that's primarily what they take them for. And then there's from 35 to about 50 50-year-olds, and they take them for similar purposes, needing to get brain performance for their jobs, needing to get brain performance for life, whatever. And many other reasons that fit within that category, but mostly related to a professional activity and otherwise brain performance when needed. But then there's this other class of people that take nootropics that are, in the 50 or 55 to like 65 age time frame. I mean, like span. And these are the kind of folks that, number one, respond to nootropics a lot better. Number two, respond to higher dose nootropics a lot better. Number three, can take higher dose nootropics for considerable periods of time. And number four, never really run into side effects when taking nootropics. And these are the older folks that have got some degree of mental atrophy, right? Probably equated to neurotransmitter function atrophy, and it's always the same thing with them. They don't have side effects. They can tolerate a lot more of certain nootropic compounds. They can take them for longer periods of time. They can cycle less and all the rest of the stuff we just talked about. So I kind of just want to give you some information about what I've seen in people that are in the 55 to 65 year-old range and how they respond particularly to Piracetam. Okay, so let me just start by saying this. Younger folks that are perhaps 27 to 35 also respond positively to Piracetam. Piracetam is an exceptionally strong nootropic compound that modifies acetylcholine receptor sites, also improves blood flow to the brain, and does a few other interesting things. When you take it, and typically the dose is like 2 to 5 grams, within 30 or 40 minutes, you typically notice better verbal fluency, better mental fluidity, better capacity to concentrate on things, better working memory. And in some cases, like all of that sort of equates to better motivation for people. Like people are like motivated to do their work because all these other areas of their brain performance are improved. Okay, so that's like what Piracetam typically does for people. But the interesting thing is that in that smaller in that like lower aged group of people, they tend not to be able to take Piracetam like every day at 5 grams for 2 years straight, right? It tends to either give them some sort of side effect or it tends to work. Most of the time, it just tends to work less effective for them over time. And then they got to cycle off. That's pretty routine when it comes to nootropics. If you watch any of our videos or any of our content, like you understand, like cycling is a super necessity, and that's like pretty routine. Like I'm super honest about all of it. Like I think a lot of the other nootropics companies or people that sell nootropics or something like aren't very honest about it. And that, yeah, I mean, dude, if you can't just take them consistently, depending on your age, depending on what neurotransmitter systems you might need to be working on with with any given nootropic compound. But the crazy thing is that people that are 55, to 65 or 50 to 65 years old, these folks seem to respond. Number one, the major point I want to make is these folks seem to respond super well to Piracetam. Okay, in a lot of cases, we'll get them trying ataracetam, oxiracetam, phenylpiracetam, other racetams first, which is something I'm learning from. And now, I'm just going to have them try, Piracetam first. And then, sometimes to no significant avail, to other times to some substantial forward motion toward better brain performance, but not fully being complete in the thing that they want to do, which is to get totally better in verbal fluency, working memory, mental energy, these sorts of things. But then when we bring Piracetam into the mix, I mean, plain old Piracetam, which is the initial one, it's the granddaddy, it's the base, it is the foundation nootropic wise, that these folks tend to do a lot better, and they tend to consistently do better on Piracetam. They respond better to Piracetam when they're older, compared to other racetams, in my experience, which is super interesting. And then the major point I want to get across in this podcast is what seems to be clear in all of them. A good percentage. Nothing is 100% of anything, but a good considerable percentage of the people that we get taking Piracetam or hear about taking Piracetam when they're between the ages of 50 and 65, they tend to not only do better on Piracetam compared to other nootropic compounds and have all their brain functions back, especially if they've been atrophied, they've been noticing memory issues or otherwise issues, but they tend to be able to take Piracetam for considerable periods of time longer thereafter. And we're talking about 1 to 2 to 3 years. And even after year 3 with these guys, with cycling, 3 days on, 4 days off, 4 days on, 3 days off, 5 days on, 2 days off, just sensible cycling strategies with a month or two off sometimes in between, perhaps a couple times a year. These folks sustainably take Piracetam for 2-3 years, 4 years. I know somebody's taken Piracetam for just about 5 years. The guy's 67 right now and started taking Piracetam at 62 or whatever that is, and has been taking it, with sensible cycling via my guidance over the course of many years, and still takes it and gets a rocking performance from it. So the major overarching point is that people within that age range, 50 to 65, seem to be able to not only tolerate, seem to have Piracetam as the nootropic of choice, but also seem to tolerate Piracetam a lot better longer term than other people, especially younger people, and also tend to tolerate higher dose Piracetam for longer periods of time compared to every other age subset. I mean, the whole thing is totally crazy, and that's just an extraction of data that I wanted to share with you folks, and I thought that might be interesting. I know there's a lot of different nuggets that we just sort of elucidated in this podcast that I hope that people can internalize and understand, because the entire point behind why Cortex Labs exists as a company, at least as it relates to content, is to make sure that people get the right, methodology or right philosophy and methodology around how to use nootropics surgically. Okay, we wrote a book about it. It's called Smarter, Better, Faster. Get it at livecortex.com. Smarter, Better, Faster is a book that basically is teaches you a surgical way to use nootropics for better brain performance. It's this methodology caked into a digital book. You can read it and find everything you need to know about nootropics, especially if you're new. We've got a stack that's called Cortex. Get it at livecortex.com. Powerful nootropic stack. Right now, Cortex is $27 if you use the coupon code 27. That's 27. Coupon code 5. Sorry, coupon code 5. Forget the 27. 27 is the price. Coupon code 5, FIVE, at livecortex.com. Get you a bottle of Cortex for $27. And if you need my help personally in any of this stuff related to nootropics, it depends on who you are. I mean, we have so many different kinds of people, business people mainly, but other people that need brain performance, that use our consulting service. It's a 40-minute call with me over Skype. 15 additional email correspondences on helping you to figure out what nootropics work best for you, figuring out a stack that works best for you. A lot of people just drill me with questions for 40 minutes. I mean, whatever works best for you, we've got that service at livecortex.com. Get it there. And thanks so much for listening. Check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/cortexstacks. And if you really want to show us support, just go to livecortex.com/blog, livecortex.com/blog. Okay. All of our nootropic stuff gets posted there. livecortex.com/blog. All of our podcasts, a lot of our videos, all the new stuff that comes out is going there. I mean, that is your I hate the word one. I hate the phrase one-stop shop. But I mean, that is your exclusive, sort of super integrated place to get nootropics information. livecortex.com/blog. Go there, support us there, like us on Facebook, and rock on. Thanks for watching. Listening. Talk to you next time.